Today we are going to look at header template parts. And to do that, we need to get into our full site editing. We'll click on Edit Site. Now we want to click here and we get to the full site editing dashboard. And so now we want to look at template parts. The 2023 theme comes with a header template part, a comments template part, and a footer template part, as well as a post meta. If we edit in here, then any changes that we make to this template will be global, meaning that anytime we use this particular header, any changes in here will change everywhere that this header is being used. Now you can create a new header if you want, and we may do that later, but for now, you see there's a little blue dot here, which means that we have already done some modifications to this header. And you can see the work that we've already done. If you haven't watched those videos, be sure to go back after and watch them. So we did some editing here, and to create this layout, what we did was we added our site logo, and then we added our navigation. Now, if you want to look at this to see how it's built, you can see that we have we're utilizing several rows and stacks. The full site editing and this whole section are on this row. So you have your site logo here, and on the other side, you have this whole thing, which is created by this stack here, which is these two on top of each other. This is two blocks that have been combined in a row here. And if you click individually, you can see that these are made up of two separate blocks. And then, of course, your navigation, each item in the navigation is a separate block. And they all make up this one big navigation block right here. So I wanted you to see how things were laid out so you could have an idea of the different ways that you can use rows and stacks and columns and groups to organize things in different ways. Now, if you haven't watched my very first video, it explains how everything that you put on a WordPress website is a block. And you can have blocks within blocks, which I've just shown you here, or you can have just a single block, and it can just be one big block like an image with nothing else. Now that we've gone through all that, I want to show you how we can customize this whole header block here, and we can add some style to it. Okay, now we want to make some changes to the style of the header template and change some colors and maybe some text color, background color, etc. Now, if we go to the header template and we click in it, we can click on the navigation bar, and we can go to our settings, and we go to color, and we go to text, and it says white, but our words are not white. So if we want to change, we can highlight it, we can click on text, we can change it, and nothing happens. Why is that? Well, because if you look up here, we are in styles. We want to change the navigation bar. So you say we're in the navigation bar, why can't we change it? Because this little set of controls controls this navigation bar. So if you want to get to the controls for the navigation bar, you have to open this up and you have to click Show More Settings. Now, everything here, you see where it says Navigation? A collection of blocks that allow visitors to get around your site. Now you are in the navigation menu for editing. So if we come down here and we see text, the text is dark blue. And that's what we have here. Now let's say we want to change that text to white. And we have changed all of our text in the entire navigation bar. And now we can get back to our text. And let's say we want dark blue. Okay. We want to keep it at dark blue, but when we hover over it, let's save these changes. And then we want to take a look at the site. I want to take a look at how the page acts. And this is a link, and it turns red. Now, it is a link. It is not part of the navigation. Links and navigation are two separate items. Right now, the items in the navigation bar are set to turn black and be underlined with the blue underline. Over here, it has the blue underline, but the words turn to red. Now, I want these to act like this does. I'd like to figure out how to change this hover. Now, I've gone in and I have clicked into the navigation bar. And you can see here, this is global styles, and it says styles. I can't change anything in here because this is the global styles button. Now, if I want to change in the navigation bar, I go here, and it says show more settings. There's nothing in here that I can use to change the color of the text or the hover. So I show more settings. Now it says here navigation. So I know that I'm in the right place to change things on the navigation bar. However, I go to the text, and it has the text, and it shows me that it's a dark blue, which is, I know that. And there is nothing in here about the hover. So, how do I change the hover color? Now, I've looked and looked through here and I can't find it, so I have to think about this logically. And we know that when you hover, this turns black. And when you hover over this, it turns red. So we'll go back to our global styles and look in our colors. And if you look up here, we have our 5 main colors. So if we click on that, it tells us what each one is. This is the base color or the background. This is our contrast color. This is our primary color, our secondary color, and our tertiary color. Now, obviously, the hover for the navigation is using the secondary color, which is black. So if we want to change that, we have to change these settings. So if we click on here, it gives us the option to edit the colors, or we could reset to what the original was, but we don't want to reset, so let's edit the colors. And now here it shows us the secondary color. Now, if we change this and we go to red, now you see it's changed in here. So we have our secondary color set to red, and we can save this. And now if we go to look at it, we can refresh. And now you see when we hover, it turns red just like the links do. However, you can see that home, our heading here, is using the secondary color, which has now been turned to red. In the old setting, this was black. The headings were black. So let's go to the articles, and now we see that our headings for the articles have turned black, and when we hover over them, they are actually a dark blue, which is the opposite of what we have in our header menu. Now, at this point in time, you have to make the decision, do you want to keep this change? Because you would have to use coding to have the hover for the navigation use a different color than the headings. So rather than go through all that, I'm going to make a decision right now, and I kind of like the way this has changed, and I like the fact that it is opposite of each other. So I think I'm going to go with this change. Now, while we're here, I want to look at the text here. Now, going back to our editing here, we can see that the text in our articles are using the contrast color. So let's go back to, let's change our contrast to, let's see, we have to, let's try that. And we know that black is all zeros, so we're going to go. And now our contrast color has changed to black. So let's save this change. And let's go back. Now this is what we have the old way. And let's go to our articles. And now you can see that the text in our articles are all black. So let's see if we can find something else. Now, I'm not really sure what else is using the setting for the contrast color. But for now, I think I like the way things are going with this. Now, let's get back to styling our header. Now, I'd like to change the header background to a different color than the rest of the site because I kind of want it to stand out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to my list view, and I'm going to make sure that I have this whole group, and we're going to go to, this is the box for our group. So we're going to show more settings, and now we know, because it says group here, that what we're editing is this entire group. So let's see what happens if we change our background color. Let's go with a gradient color. And in order to make a gradient color, you want to set two different colors. So we're going to start with this pale blue. I like the, let's see, I kind of like this pale blue here, very light, and we're going to leave that there. So now you can see that this is much lighter, and then it gradients into this darker, kind of like a purplish color. Now here you have some defaults that you could use, but for now I want to show you how to set it yourself. Now let's say you want it to be a deep, deep purple. Now, obviously, we're not going to use this because we won't be able to see our writing here. But for now, you can see that you can set the gradient any color you want. Now, I also want to show you something else. Let's say you want to switch these. You see this little circle here? You can turn it around and it moves the gradient from one side to the other. And now the lighter side is over here. So if you want to, let's say you want this to be light all the way here and you want a solid line breaking this up. So in order to do that, you would move this over. And you see how your gradient moves over? Now, let's say you move this and they touch. And look what happens. You have a diagonal line. Now, let's say you don't want that line to be diagonal. You can change it any way you want by turning this little dial. And so I think I'm going to leave it like this for now because I really like this look. And I'm going to save this. And then I'm going to go to here. And I'm going to refresh this. And now we have our little navigation bar. Now, looking at it this way, I don't like this space up here. And I would like this to come down just a little. So let's go back in. We cannot seem to find a way to change this bar here by readjusting the margin here. If we move the margin, it makes it bigger, but you can see for just a moment it shows this blue. So there is something more to this space. Now, if we look at this whole from an outside point of view, this header template is part of a bigger page. So if we go to the template setting, we're on the header. Let's go to the layout here. We look at the layout, and here we have some settings. So if we look at our padding, now even though the padding is set what looks like 0, it's actually a setting that we don't know because it's in the coding. So in order to set this to 0, we have to literally move it up, move it back down, and there it goes to 0. So if we save this and we refresh, we have removed that space. Now, we're going to get rid of this border that we put in, that I put in a while ago, but for now, it's showing you that the space is gone. Now, I want to get rid of the spacing here on the bottom, so I'm going to click, open, close, and there the spacing is gone. So now I can hit save again, and when I refresh, there is, you can't see it, but the space is gone. The space has been taken out. So now we have this purple outline around the outside of the site, and I want to change that. So if I go to the page, I look around and I see my colors. If I go look at the colors, I can see that these are the main colors here, and this is this tertiary color. Now I want to change this here to this color. So I go to my base and I see the color, copy the hex code, go to my tertiary color, and I will paste in the one I want, hit save, save again, and now if I refresh, it is the same color as the background, so it looks much better. And I think that is all we're going to do for today.